can we offer hope for mental health and addictions? That's the topic that we're going to address today on Flourish-Meant. I'm your host, Tina Yeager. And today I have an incredible woman of God. This amazing guest is Jessica Lee Rabel. She's an actor, director, and producer with a neuroscience degree. She's been investing her talents in the production projects Shadow of Grace and Our Shadows that dive deep into authentic pain and hope. Welcome, Jessica. I am so honored to feature this message on Flourish-Meant today.
Thank you so much. Yes, nice to meet you and everybody else. I'm super excited about this conversation.
Jessica, let's go ahead and dive deep into why you chose to invest your talents, your money, sacrifice so much time and effort and heartache into this project about the authentic personal stories of those who are suffering with mental illness and addictions.
I have been in the film industry for a very long time. I have tried to sway other people to create projects that mean a lot to me and realize that I care more about what I care about than other people do. And so that was the beginning of these stages. And I personally walked through a long-term postpartum depression journey. My kids are now 11 and 8, so thank God I'm past that. But it was 5 to 7 years. It was a long time. It was a big struggle. And I didn't find help in the Western medicine world. I didn't find answers and solutions. And I've always believed in God. I've always put my prayers on him and asked him for help and healing. And it was little things that he put in place, whether they be people who loved me the right way or, helped me move from California to Texas, which was a big jump to do. But it was really helpful because it was just harder to do it alone without family in a small apartment, living in California. And so that is my personal experience. And it was a really dark, hard time that helped shape the way that I see suffering, pain, and God's grace. And that I always want answers quickly. And for God to not give me those quick healings, it was difficult. And I was angry at him for a while. And now that I consider myself on the other side, I joke about that with my friends. I'm like, am I on the other side? Because I'm not perfect and no one is. And I still struggle with anxiety and other things. But to have gone through it and then just to be able to sit with people who are going through something and know that sometimes just being a present soul next to them is sometimes the only thing that they need and that we can do. I've partnered too. My creative partner deals with bipolar disorder. And so our daughters are really good friends. And we came together to create first this short documentary in the Shadow of Grace. And in development is the feature film, Our Shadows. The documentary shares 3 individuals' journeys through their struggle of mental health and addiction and how they found light at the end of the tunnel through the grace of God. And the feature is more about my story and my co-creator's story and how we're going to weave our true life into the narrative version of the characters in the plot line with music from Grammy-nominated artists and really a great, powerful story filled with God's grace. Again, it's an umbrella project and it's a movement too. I'm hoping that through art, we can reach people who feel stuck, Christians and non-Christians alike, maybe especially the people who don't feel comfortable walking into a church, who might watch our film and say, wow, look, those people experienced hope and they got out of these terrible situations. And some of the people on the documentary, they were homeless. They were addicted to really bad drugs. I mean, there was heroin. There was, one of them said that he's done everything. A young girl grew up with an alcoholic, abusive father, and it's hard stuff. And then to be able to show that these are real people and that they're all doing great now with the jobs that they have and the families that they've created, and to be able to see that as someone who struggles, it's a beautiful thing.
I so appreciate that you were diving into so many different stories. So there were points at which audience members can connect with different stories, different outcomes, different paths toward hope, and that it was very authentic. It wasn't just an overnight, I was in a bad place, and then overnight I was better. It was a painful story, and it was a gradual walk toward hope that was very, very hard. How did you find those people that you really felt were going to be important for your film? There are many people that struggle. How did you choose these specific stories to focus on?
So I actually have more stories. We had 12 people come through and we recorded their version of their life. And the three that I chose, they all had a special light inside of them. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's the female is young. She's an adult, but she's young, and she had an abusive father, and she still talks to her father. And I'm like, how is that? So I knew her mom. I know her mom. And so half of the people there that day were people that I've known in my life. And the other half, we partnered with the Spiritual Care Network in Galveston, just outside of Houston. And that was part of their community. So we have had the two men who are in this version of the documentary are from the Spiritual Care Network. They're just serving the Lord with their time now. One of them was in jail. One was homeless. Both had drug problems. One came from an alcoholic household. So he even says in the documentary, he's like, I've never felt love. I didn't know what that was. I wasn't cared for as a child. So neglect was there. I was sitting there on the other side of the camera weeping profusely. I mean, everyone has a story, right? Everyone has a struggle and everyone needs grace. And those three stories really showed visually, like when we showed it, and we had this beautiful screening night at this lovely theater, River Oaks Theater down in Houston. And there was hundreds of people in the room, and people came to me afterwards and were just crying and hugging me. And I never met them before. And they're like, thank you so much for telling these stories. And two of the interviewees were there, and they were able to connect with them. And it was just so powerful. And I think that's the right word. It's the power of their lives shared on screen that I just had to share with the world, hopefully.
In your filmmaking process for this project, was there some discovery, some things that were surprised you that you found out while you were delving into these personal stories?
I never felt like there was an us and them because, like I said, everyone has their own story and it could sound different. And some people, let me say this, they rank people's struggles, right? Oh, well, my story is not as bad as your story. But it's not, that's not how the Lord wants us to do it either. It's, I have pain and you have pain, and let's both focus on God. And so I wasn't surprised by feeling connected to these people in seconds. And then hearing their stories for a half hour, 40 minutes, I felt a part of it. Like I really, and they did too. And they were just thanking me so much for having the opportunity to share their lives on screen. And I don't know if I was surprised necessarily, because I knew I would cry and I knew I would listen and take it in. And I think I'm still holding on to their stories a little bit. Maybe that's the surprise. I can hear and see and feel them talking and sharing. One of them, I can, I'm going to start crying just thinking about it. Like I could feel her pain. And I'm probably going to call her after this, and maybe that's what it is, the superhuman connection in your heart.
So this deepened your existing empathy even further to interview these really amazing people that have overcome impossible odds through faith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's talk about why this story matters and who needs to see this movie.
This story matters because it's all of us, because one person is not above anyone else. Like I said, I've made it for Christians and non-Christians, both. Coming from California, I'm very sensitive to people who don't like the word God. They get, nervous if I say Jesus, but I made it for all of us. And especially maybe, okay, coming from California and coming into the church world here in Houston, Texas, maybe it's for those Christians too. A lot of these people, they're not surface people, but they have a hard time digging deep. So I feel like Christians in California, you have to dig deep to be a believer there. Christians in Texas, you don't have to. You can just like be part of the church culture. And so maybe it's also for the Christians who need a little extra depth, and we don't have to put on this mask and this face to pretend that everything's okay. No one has everything together. And I think that's a safer place to be.
It's bringing authenticity to people inside the church, and it's bringing awareness for those who may or may not be comfortable stepping into the church so that they can have those doors open, the doors of people's hearts and the physical doors open for them to get the help that they need. So how can people get in touch with you and watch this amazing project and the new one that's coming out, Our Shadows?
I am personally on Instagram. Our production company, I'm going to get a little higher for a second. It's Y'allywood. Y'all for Texas, Y'allywood for Hollywood. It's so we have a website, y'allywoodtx.com. You can search my personal name, Jessica Lee Rabel, Lee, and find me on everything off of Google. Our trailer is public. It's on Vimeo and YouTube. The documentary itself is going through the festival network right now, and we're trying to get a distribution deal, and we'll see where that goes. The next movie, Our Shadows, is very big, and we're going to see what God does with it. So far, he's opened doors that I thought were impossible. And so we're just walking through them, and we'll see what happens with that one, but that'll be a bigger release through theaters and streaming platforms.
I hope that all of you listening were inspired to go and see this beautiful documentary, Shadow of Grace, and support Our Shadows, the upcoming project that Jessica Lee Rabel has coming out. And of course, I also hope that you will come back for the next episode of Flourish-Meant.